Welcome back to Ravens Today. Thank you for subscribing and hitting that like button. Let's keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. We're going to dive right back into Justin Tucker's departure as there's been some controversy behind his release. One of those things is the fact that the Ravens did address this, thanking Tucker for all of his contributions to the team and that he will forever be a part of the Ravens organization. And people were upset about that. They were upset at, Tucker with all of the allegations against him. You think that the Ravens would kind of address that. Of course, they didn't. And we still don't know anything. These are just allegations. The NFL is still investigating these allegations. They're still, ongoing. And Goodell, like I said in my previous video, Goodell pretty much said, we have no updates. So for me, it's not just about the allegations. Like I said in my previous video, that there was one of two ways the Ravens saw this. They could escape the PR nightmare that they would have to go through, and with keeping Tucker, they could save $4 million cap space, or these allegations have merit, which it's not. It's, for me, these allegations, it's hard to ignore when it's more than one accuser. I think they do have some merit to them. There's something going on. But again, I think the Ravens kind of saw this as an open opportunity to draft a really talented kicker after the down year that Tucker had. Again, everyone has a down year. Quarterbacks have down years. Wide receivers have down years. Running backs have down years. Everyone has a down year. But Tucker is getting older, and kickers play a very underrated part of the team. They are the last resort to win games. Sometimes Justin Tucker has been a last resort player that the Ravens have relied on for years to kick a 55-yard, a 66-yard field goal to win a game. But I feel like it's like an orange for me. It's like we've squeezed all we can out of all of the juice that we can out of Tucker. So we're going to go with a talented kid who showcased his kicking ability, where he was able to kick from 65, 70 in his showcase. Again, not like with the placeholder, but he could do it. I mean, it's just a lot of different ways that the people can go up and see and look at this. But again, Tucker has contributed so much to this team, and and been a huge part of game wins. But I think like the Ravens moving on from him in the way that they did is the only best option. It's just trying to like just not have to deal with the PR, but also like thinking that Tucker has given all he can in terms of his career to the Ravens, and then the Ravens thinking we can definitely capitalize on this and not have to risk Tucker having another down year where we lose games because he can't get a chip shot field goal in. I think the Ravens definitely decided to go with a safer option and draft a young, hungry kicker. And unfortunately, Tucker has to take the fall and probably will have to internally have to deal with these allegations. I think he'll get signed somewhere, but these allegations will follow him wherever he goes. And I think that the Ravens are just a team that are sick and tired of having to lose games by a few points, because not only just because the kicker, but because they just can't seem to get over the hump. And I think that with this draft and with the drafting the Tyler Loop, they're just ready to just say, we can do this. We have a new hungry kicker that can kick from 60 plus, and we're just moving on. We have to win now, which is most likely the bigger mindset the Ravens have when they released Tucker, that they've squeezed all that orange juice out of him and they're ready to move on. Also, but moving on, we're also going to talk about the offensive improvements I want to see this year from the Ravens. I mean, what can you say? You get DeAndre Hopkins in the free agency. You still have Derrick Henry. You still obviously still have Lamar. You have Zay Flowers coming back 100% healthy. You have Bateman. You have Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. The improvements I want to see, I've said before, is to rotate Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. I want Likely to be the guy that can make that clutch play when Lamar is throwing it to a big tight end. I think Mark Andrews could do better as a blocker position rather than taking those receiving positions. And Likely, it doesn't have to be we're going to fade Mark Andrews out. We're just going to change up his scheme in the offense. Another way that we can improve is that Derrick Henry can still catch. I mean, having Justice Hill make those long throw, or having Justice Hill in the backfield for those pass plays, it gets kind of predictable. I think that having Derrick Henry back there for a play action play or screen or anything, I know Derrick Henry does, need to get up to speed but once he's going, he's gone. But again, switching it up, keeping the defenses guessing is how the Ravens should definitely use Derrick Henry. And I don't want to see this Greg Roman horse manure that we've seen in years past. Greg Roman's obviously not our offensive coordinator anymore, and you see Lamar Jackson has definitely evolved so much with Todd Monken. But Greg Roman used the same darn plays every single time. It was just Lamar Jackson had evolved from that, and we saw it mid game. It was just so frustrating, and I think that this team now understands that in order to improve, they just got to keep the defenses guessing instead of relying on what is kept them strong, because teams will catch on. That it's inevitable. So by utilizing a little bit more Derrick Henry in the passing game, could definitely keep teams guessing, because Derrick Henry can still catch a ball. He's not just a running back. I mean, and also you have DeAndre Hopkins in there. On another hand, he can, he's not, going to be the outside receiver I expect him to be, but he's definitely going to be up there on the goal line at the first and goal. Lamar could just, again, like I've said previously, just toss it up to him. He's going to come down with it. Or he can be that inside cross guy. I'm just saying, just keep the defenses guessing. That's what I want to see out of this Ravens offense this year. We've done it before. We did it last year. We did it with Todd Monken. Todd Monken definitely has the ability to keep defenses guessing, and I want to keep doing that. But just add a little bit more Derrick Henry in there and add Isaiah Likely a little bit more in there. All right, defensive improvements I want to see this year in terms of, blitz packages. I mean, if we can get some defensive linemen that can, pressure a quarterback, we don't need a fifth man up there. I mean, of course, I love it when Kyle Hamilton or Roquan Smith are up there and get a sack, or even Marlon Humphrey is up there to get a sack. But I want to see this defense kind of utilize their defensive linemen a little bit more, and then have some, trick plays to where they bring a fifth man up who can just immediately get to the quarterback and completely dismantle an offensive play. Especially with Starks being in there. He could play corner, he could play safety, he could help Kyle Hamilton tremendously. And I think that's how the Ravens are going to use him. So I'm all for this. And thank God we got rid of Brandon Stevens. Starks could fill his position, no problem. He could do way better than Stevens in his position. Pretty much anyone on the Ravens defense could do better than Stevens after the whole disaster he was last season. But these, the Ravens on defense, especially with Zach Orr going into his second year as a full-time defensive coordinator, I think that the Ravens defense is definitely going to improve a ton. And by utilizing their defensive linemen more and trying to find defensive linemen, I mean, they found a lot in the draft, but finding a defensive lineman that, can get to a quarterback will definitely be a key improvement in this defense. But just saying. Lastly, a little bit of news here, a little bit of weird one actually, is that Travis Jones is set to be replaced. He is a free agent next season, and the Ravens worked out former Nebraska interior defensive lineman Nash Hutmacher. I'm going to Sorry if I mispronounced his name. He was an undefeated prep wrestler. Okay. He is taking part in the rookie minicamp. Ravens, we're looking at him, seeing him as more of a diamond in the rough type of guy, and he could fill in for Michael Pierce, who retired this last season, and eventually replace Jones. Kind of like Jones kind of mentors him. Jones becomes a free agent, and then Nash could fill in that void. I mean, again, it's not like the Ravens can't sign Jones, but they got to start making business decisions, especially with Lamar's cap hit being 74 million next season. I think that they got to sign their QB again to make sure that cap hit doesn't hit them hard. But Nash has great strength and swiftness in the defensive line. But he is a little bit shorter. He doesn't really, have a big defensive lineman, but he's very, swifty, as I call it. Where not the Taylor Swifty, but the Swifty, where he's able to, use his strength and use his, swiftiness to evade a offensive lineman and get to a quarterback. I think that this kid could be, a developmental piece for the Ravens and could eventually take over that, position if Travis Jones does leave, and eventually and he could be next to Travis Jones this year for that void that Michael Pierce left. He is an undrafted free agent. The Ravens have had success in undrafted rookies before. Keaton Mitchell, perfect example, like I've said in many videos. But this will be more developmental piece, and if the Ravens see something in him, let's see what he does. Let's see if he does well in training camp with the whole team. Let's see how he does in preseason, because those are the times when it really does matter for any undraftees and the rookies to stand out. So I guess we got to wait and see if this kid does get a contract on this team and does take reps as defensive lineman with Travis Jones. Thank you for tuning into the Ravens Today Show. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda. Remember, subscribe and like the video. I'll keep you posted on anything and all things Ravens. Have a good day, everyone.